right, we have one more clip here. Oh, this is, we haven't heard from Rush Limbaugh in quite some time. We mentioned this yesterday. There was a Georgia school wherein a teacher, I guess, shot up classroom. There was no students who were harmed. Apparently, this was a domestic dispute that somehow managed to be to take place at a school. I'm not sure of the details. And Rush Limbaugh does not seem to be too quite sure of the details. A lot of people are like, wow, what has happened to conservatives? They get into these conspiracies. This is so new. They're so off the rails. And I will remind you that this gentleman has been on radio since 1988 as a conservative talker, at least with a national show. And he was the one who promoted the conspiracy theory that Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton murdered Vince Foster.
It's red flag all over it.
So he is, the rest are sort of Johnny-come-latelys. Rush Limbaugh has been the intellectual pillar of the Republican Party for over a decade and a half. It's not hard to go back and read stories about how people were apologizing. Congressmen, Republican leaders were like apologizing and kowtowing to this guy. So let's hear what his explanation is for this shooting.
In Georgia, when I see stories like this is from thehill.com, it was breaking news an hour ago. I've been sitting on it here because I just made a judgment. Here's the headline: Teacher in custody after Georgia police respond to report of shots fired. The teacher was arrested after police responded to reports of shots fired at a high school in Georgia. The Dalton Police Department tweeted at about 12:30.
Yeah. Now, Rush Limbaugh has always had a problem with schools because, bad things are taught there. That's where you learn to be a liberal. So he always referred to schools as screwls.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah, it was actually something I adopted some similar tactics when I was on radio.
I could see that.
School in Georgia. The Dalton Police Department tweeted at about 12:30 that a subject, believed to be a teacher, was barricaded in a classroom at Dalton High School. No children were hurt or ever in danger. Wait. Update: the teacher is in custody. Dalton, by the way, is located in northwest Georgia. It's near the Tennessee-Georgia border. All right. So we have a teacher barricaded in a classroom with no students, no children, no students anywhere around, and starts firing some shots, barricaded in the classroom. And then here comes some cops, and they nab the guys in custody, and we got a breaking news story. Teacher in custody after Georgia police respond to reports of shots fired. What are you thinking when you heard me say this? Folks, what were you thinking? What was running through your mind when you heard this? Come on, be honest. What was... Well, of course this will be the argument we use for not arming teachers, but what if the whole thing's a setup to create that very... What if the teacher is a radical leftist and does this to give the drive-bys a news story that they can then point to? Yes. See, we can't arm teachers. Now, some of you might be thinking, Mr. Limbaugh, that is a very, very horrible thing to think. How could your mind go that way? Well, you may have a point, but I'm sorry. Who are we dealing with here? We're dealing with exactly this kind of people who engage in fake everything.
Pause it for a moment and just go back. I was not thinking, what a horrible thing to think, Mr. Limbaugh. I was not thinking, what a horrible thing. I was thinking, what a moronic thing to think. And how dumb is your audience that they can't,
We were sitting on this clip, and we didn't know what to do with it.
And go that way. Well, you may have a point, but I'm sorry. Who are we dealing with here? We're dealing with exactly this kind of people who engage in fake everything that they try to make look real. Nope, I'm not claiming that's what this was. But I will say that if it turned out to be that, I wouldn't be surprised.
Aha!
But no, I'm not predicting that's what it was. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm just telling you the leftists have made me consider such things.
All right. Let me tell you. Hold on. Let me tell you. This is fascinating. This is an interesting sort of like a media breakdown. He escapes any responsibility for coming up with a crazy conspiracy theory. This is why Rush Limbaugh is the best they have over there, because he creates such an incredible straw man and then blames the straw man, then acknowledges it's a straw man and blames the construction of the straw man on another straw man. So in other words, I'm going to tell you something that's completely outlandish. I'm going to tell you something completely outlandish, that Rush Limbaugh is going off of the air and then doing horrible things to animals and children. Horrible things. Now, I'm not saying he's doing this. I'm saying I would believe it because that's exactly who he is.
I feel like these conservatives are constantly talking about pedophilia and child abuse. It makes me think that they're doing it themselves.
Well,
they're not doing it, but they're the kind of people that would do it.
It is, and he was able to do that in about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Create a straw man, then create another straw man based upon the first straw man.
Well, he also says at the end, he's like, I don't necessarily believe this or whatever, but he's at the beginning, he's like, I've reached a judgment.
Right.
Like,
I've reached a judgment that the liberals are so bad that they could force me to contemplate a conspiracy theory. That is what it is. This construct, incidentally, runs throughout the conservative. This is another form of their aggrievement, right? Liberals are so bad, they're actually driving me crazy. It's like Christy Todd Whitman, telling me that, well, maybe if liberals were not so uptight about global warming, conservatives would be able to believe the science. And here's Rush Limbaugh going like, I believe liberals are so bad that they're actually making me contemplate conspiracy theories. It's their fault.